In this episode, we visit Clifton, Virginia, where ISTEA funds will be used to build sidewalks and bike paths. Our next stop is Wickenburg, Arizona, where new bike lanes make the roads safer for school children. In Washington, D.C., Rock Creek Park is developing a general management plan. The public is invited to participate. Finally, our intersection of the month is on Wilson Boulevard in Arlington, Virginia. Stay tuned. We're talking with Jim Chesley, the mayor of Clifton, Virginia. What's going on today?
Well, today we're having our annual Clifton Town and Clifton Road cleanup. Clifton Road is one of two roads in Fairfax County that's a scenic byway, the other being Georgetown Pike. And basically we have volunteers going out from 8:30 until noon today, or until we finish picking up all the trash, the real estate signs, things that are tacked on stop signs, traffic signs, and litter along the road, just to spruce it up, basically to get to keep it clean and to get ready for the spring home store in May. Last year we picked up over 155 30-gallon bags in just a 4-mile stretch of Clifton Road, and we're probably going to exceed that this year. It's been a tough winter.
What else is going on today?
Well, we also having volunteers are working on the Clifton Primitive Baptist Church, which is right up the street, 2 blocks up. The Clifton Primitive Baptist Church was built in the 1880s. It's a small building. It was in great disrepair and not being used. And we recently got a federal grant, about 2 years ago, got a federal grant to restore the building, obviously, and it was for $15,000. Obviously, that doesn't go very far, but we were able to do the outside, replace the siding, paint it, put a new tin roof on. And we're currently working on the inside. It's an Eagle Scout project to help us with restore the pews inside. It's the first black church in Fairfax County, a very historic church. It's fitting that it's in our town. Our town is both on the National Historic Register and the Virginia State Landmarks Register. The entire town has contributing structures to that historic base. And this church is one of the last remaining buildings to be restored, and we're just really proud to have it be working on that, and we're trying to get that one finished also because we want to have that on the spring home store.
And does a town like this depend on volunteer work?
A town like this is the basis of everything that happens in this town is volunteer work. We work on we get federal grants for a lot of our the money that we do things. The area that we're standing in used to be the area where the old train station used to be, and we have a federal ISTEA grant. That's the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act money, where 10% of the state highway funds are set aside for other things other than specific road building. It's like pedestrian plazas, bike paths, and we're doing that in this very area. We're going to start in the next month or two, and a lot of the work we're going to do on that's volunteer in-kind services. So to answer your question, very definitely we deal on that. We do not have a tax base in Clifton. There's no real estate tax, so everything we do is by volunteers, and we have a good force of volunteers.
And you mentioned the ISTEA project going on here.
Right.
What are you doing with that other than the plaza here?
Well, we're doing a plaza, and behind us we're doing sidewalks from the railroad, cuts the town in half, basically, and we have restaurants, residences, business and residences on both sides. The Clifton School's on one side of the tracks. Most of the residences are on this side of the tracks. We're building sidewalks up to the school. We're on one side of Clifton Road. On the other side, we're building, extending the dirt for a dirt path, a bicycle path, things like that to connect up to future Fairfax County bike paths. And we're to the point that we've got the railroad in between us, and we're trying to work with the railroad. We've been working for several years to get the railroad to give us some type of pedestrian crossing. We're looking for something just as simple as a extension of the asphalt, a 8 to 10 foot extension with some active crossing. When the large gates come down for the cars, a small gate would drop for the pedestrians. We're having a problem, obviously, with the businesses and residences on both sides and the school on one side. People when they cross the street, if they're not driving, they walk in the pavement or they walk on the tracks, and both are very dangerous.
We're in Wickenburg, Arizona with Royce Cardinal. I noticed you had a brand new bike lane striped out on the edge of the highway, edge of town here. Can you tell us about how that came into being?
Yes, that was a joint effort with our local school district as well as our town of Wickenburg, and cooperation with the Arizona Department of Transportation. It was a project that sort of came by due to the fact that our school is located about 2.5 miles out of the main residential area of our community, and parents felt the urgency to do something because their students weren't safe riding their bicycles along the highway to get to school. And our superintendent at the time of our school district called to our attention that we did have the ability to raise some money outside of our usual taxation for our school budget, and that's called an Adjacent Ways program. And so we were able to accumulate some money in that fund and partner with the town of Wickenburg. They worked out to be, I'm not sure, it started out as about a 50-50 contribution. I'm not sure of the final figures. The bid came in a little lower, which was unusual than what we had anticipated. The project was just completed about 6 weeks ago. As a matter of fact, it's not quite completed. They still have to do some marking and some designation. I don't think they're completed with that part of the project. It has made our parents happy. It's made our students feel safer. They actually had to widen the highway in order to accommodate that additional lane. A lot of our community people use it actually as a walking. A lot of people walk also. So it works out well.
People are happy with it?
They seem to be. They're very pleased. People, even the senior citizens who would normally, they sort of around here, they sometimes get a no more tax mentality. They enjoy it because some of them even bicycle ride and find that it's not just for the students. So as a whole, I would say the community is very pleased with the project.
We're in Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C., talking with the Acting Superintendent, Adrienne Coleman. How old is Rock Creek Park?
Rock Creek Park was established in 1890, the same year that Yosemite was established. So we're one of the oldest parks in the National Park System, and we're very proud of that.
And what's this lovely old stone building behind us here? That it must predate the park.
Yes, it does. It's a 19th century grist mill, Pierce mill. It was built in the early 1800s and gives us an example of what life must have been like in the early 1800s in the Rock Creek Valley.
And I understand that Rock Creek Park is currently working on developing a general management plan. What is a general management plan?
Well, a general management plan helps us to look into the future. In other words, it gives us guidance and a broad framework for making management decisions 15 or 20 years from now. And it will help us to give some direction and focus to how the park will be managed.
And how does the process work? What's been going on so far?
Overall, it's going to be an 18-month process that started back in June of last year when we first announced that we were going to do a general management plan. We've had a series of public meetings in which we have gotten input from the public on how they feel the park should be managed and what they feel the purpose of the park is and the significant features of the park are. We've also met with various congresspersons who have an interest in Rock Creek Park. We've met with city council persons within D.C. We've met with advisory neighborhood commissions in D.C. We've also met with several focus groups. We've met with environmental groups, biking and hiking groups, and others who have an interest in the general management plan. We've also met with a number of regional agencies who are responsible for water quality and air quality and transportation. So we're trying to be as all-inclusive as we possibly can in this process.
What sort of concerns have people raised?
I think that based on the comments that we've received so far, and we've gotten over 800 written comments, as well as those comments that we got from the various public meetings that we've had, traffic along Beach Drive and Rock Creek Parkway seems to be a concern of a lot of people who use Rock Creek Park. People have also expressed an interest in water quality of the creek. And I think that based on the comments that we've heard so far, that we should take a more holistic approach to addressing water quality, that we just can't look at Rock Creek itself, but that we have to have a concerted and coordinated effort with all of the water quality agencies in the regional area to look at the entire Potomac watershed and how that impacts on Rock Creek. People have a concern for the protection of wildlife in Rock Creek Park, and they want to make sure that because of urban encroachments that wildlife not become fragmented or degraded. Air quality is another concern as well. I believe that bikers and hikers, although they love the park, would like to see newer trails, more improved trails. So these are some of the major concerns that we've heard so far.
And where does the plan go from here? What's the next step?
Well, based on the comments that we've received so far, we have developed some alternative solutions to those problems that have been identified, and we'd like to develop a newsletter, which we're going to send out to over 3,000 people who are on our mailing list, and we're also going to have a series of public meetings where people will have an opportunity to respond to those alternatives that have been developed so far. After that, we will incorporate the comments that we've received from the public on the range of alternatives, and we will develop a draft general management plan. That draft will also be circulated to the public as well. So before we issue a final general management plan, the public will have been involved at each step of the process.
So I take it that's fairly important that the public be involved in how their park's going to be used?
It's very important. We are here to protect and preserve the natural and cultural resources of Rock Creek Park. The public is also a very important part of that. The public uses the park, and we're here to serve them as well. So yes, it is. It's very important. Being in the heart of the District of Columbia, the park serves many, many constituencies, and a lot of people use the park in a lot of ways, and we want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard.
We're in Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C. with Rick Morgan with the Washington Area Bicycle Association. What is the Washington Area Bicycle Association?
Well, it's an organization of bicyclists who commute, ride recreationally in parks, and we have about 25,000 members in the Washington area.
And at the moment, Rock Creek Park is actually quite a popular place to bike. What are the facilities like here?
Well, we have a wonderful trail that runs a good bit of the length of the park, and people use it for recreation, also for commuting. There are a number of park roads that are very quiet and scenic, and a lot of people bike on the roads, on the trails. But there is a real sort of competition at times between bicycles and cars, because there's a tremendous number of cars that use the park for commuting during the week. Actually, my favorite spot is right here on this section of Beach Drive, which we call the Boulder Bridge section. It's about 2 miles long, and it's closed on the weekends. It has been for about 15 years now. It's closed for bicyclists, for joggers, skaters, and it's just a wonderful place where everybody comes out on a beautiful day on the weekend. But during the week, I'd be standing here in the midst of traffic with a long line of cars snaking up the road, both in the morning and the evening. So basically, we're concerned that Rock Creek Park is really a park only 2 days a week, because the rest of the time it's like a superhighway.
What sort of things would you like to see incorporated in the general management plan that they're developing?
Well, Rock Creek Park is developing a general management plan now. It's the first one ever. It's something that all national parks are required to do, and we think it's about time that Rock Creek Park actually decided to develop a plan to really decide what to do with its resources. And we are arguing that sections of the park should be the focus of recreation, of people, of resources, of wildlife, rather than having the focus be on automobiles and roads. And this particular section of the park, which is closed on weekends, we believe should be closed throughout the week, because there are many other ways for people to get to work. There are other roads, there are other opportunities like the metro system, which wasn't available when these roads were built. And there are certain areas like this particular section of Beach Drive that we think are really much more suitable for bicycling and walking and skating for recreation than for commuting.
So what's the impact of the heavy commuter traffic that you have through here?
Well, there's just been a lot of damage, both in terms of air pollution, roadkill to animals. There's almost no skunks or turtles left in the park because they just cannot survive when they have fast traffic with the volume of cars that Beach Drive experiences. This road was designed to safely accommodate about 8,000 cars a day, and there are sections of Beach Drive now that get 24,000 cars a day. The park has wound up having to devote a tremendous portion of its resources to just managing traffic. So the resources for recreation, for maintaining the natural environment have really suffered. And so we at WABA are concerned that this park is really sustaining a lot of damage just because there's never really been any effort to control the amount of vehicular traffic through the park. They just assume that the cars are going to come, and in fact they've done a number of things to make it easier for traffic. And we think that the general management plan is a time to really make some decisions about what is the role of cars in the park versus people. That certainly people need to be able to get to the park by car, they need to be able to get across the park by car, but we don't think that people ought to be able to every day, day after day, use the park as a commuting route all the way through the park to the downtown area. That's where the park really starts to suffer with the vast number of cars that use it that way. This area right here could be a recreational area full of cyclists, full of skaters and joggers every day of the week, certainly in the evenings in the summer, in the spring and fall, in the early morning. But because of the automobile traffic, it's basically off limits for recreation during the week. It's basically Rock Creek Park is really only a park 2 days a week. The rest of the week it's really more like a super highway.
We're in Rock Creek Park with Steve Coleman of Washington Parks and People. What is Washington Parks and People?
Well, it's a brand new coalition, John, that's just coming together now, bringing together the friends of parks all across the Washington region. And it represents a true global movement of literally millions of people who are fighting to reclaim the connection between people and the land, and to rebuild the communities both within the parks, the natural communities that come together here that we celebrate, and also the human communities that can come together, especially in our urban parks. That's what it's all about. We have here in Washington one of the finest potential urban greenway systems in America, and yet very few people appreciate it. Very few people are able to use it because of cars, because of crime, because of neglect, abandonment of many of the parks. Rock Creek is one of the finest urban national parks in America, and yet it gets very little resources. It is primarily treated as a parkway and not as a park. And so we're happy because we're now working together with the Washington Area Bicyclist Association and the Sierra Club and many other groups to form something that should have happened when Rock Creek was formed 100 years ago. We're forming a Friends of Rock Creek to fight for this park, to make it a park for everyone to enjoy and to minimize really the takeover of the park by cars.
And what sort of things do you imagine the Friends of Rock Creek will want to see included in the new general management plan?
Well, we don't have any policy adopted yet, and we're a brand new thing, but I definitely think that there is unanimity in a feeling that the direction the park has been going of allowing cars to simply take over, transforming Beach Drive into really a commuting highway, this is something that's got to stop. We owe it to the park, we owe it to our communities, we owe it to the nation's capital. This can be a much better place than it is today. The vision in creating this park was not to create a highway. It was to create a place for people to come together in this beautiful natural surrounding. And that's what we're going to be fighting to do on all fronts, working to restore the water quality, working to protect the air quality, many of the fragile ecosystems that are here, as well as helping people to appreciate the cultural heritage of the park. People have had a dynamic relationship with this land here since Native American times. And we want to bring back that sense of appreciation of the land.
I notice you have a shirt there that says Meridian Hill Park.
Yes.
What's happened with Meridian Hill Park in recent years?
Well, 7 years ago, John, we started a very grassroots community effort and that began as a crime patrol, simply to try to fight crime by rebuilding community in what had become the single most violent park in the capital. Meridian Hill was a terrible place. Today, crime is down 96%. It's now one of the safest parks in the city. It's actually safer to go to Meridian Hill at night than it is to go to Tyson's Corner shopping mall. And it's a lot more interesting and cheaper, too.
So it is possible to transform a park.
Exactly, and we use that as a model for parks all across the region. We've now helped form a Friends of Shenandoah National Park and Friends of Parks all across the region. We're now working on a new map that will help to highlight the non-automotive ways of getting around the city, linking all these parks into a greenway system, as well as the rivers and creeks into a blueway system. And we want to really help people understand how they can use the bike trails and hiking trails and mass transit and even waterways to get around the city, as people did for hundreds of years before the automobile.
We're in Arlington, Virginia at the corner of Wilson Boulevard and Oakland Street with Marie Birnbaum. Why did you nominate this for Intersection of the Month?
Well, this is a very, very busy road with a lot of high-speed traffic. It's a block from Subway Station, which I'm looking at directly across this very small park. It's across the street. We're standing across the street from a community that has a lot of sidewalks. It's a very busy place. We're located at a bus stop, which you can see in the background. There are high-rise apartments. There's a busy dance center behind us. So this is kind of a place where you might expect pedestrians to be treated very, very generously.
And they aren't?
Well, not really. What you see behind us is a crosswalk. And here it is that pedestrians are invited to risk their lives, really, to get across 4 lanes of traffic, moving at closing speeds of perhaps 90 miles an hour at rush hour. It's really a very dangerous situation. But it's not dangerous enough. That is to say, it doesn't warrant a traffic light.
What determines whether or not it'd be possible to get a traffic light here for pedestrians?
Well, the whole setup for determining whether you can have a traffic light comes out of something called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. This is a system that really works, a set of criteria that really works for the motorists on the main road. And you would have to have either a very, very high number of pedestrians, or you would have to have had a series of accidents, a series of serious accidents in order to get a traffic light. Those are the standards. These standards don't take at all into account what the adjacent land uses are, whether it's at a bus stop, whether there's a subway nearby. Children, for example, at the dance center crossing the street perhaps might want to get a pizza across the street. These things are not taken into account in this system at all. Our national system for deciding the need for traffic lights is one that really takes into account the safety and convenience only of the motorist, not the safety or convenience of the very vulnerable pedestrian.
The federal government is not directly involved in building an intersection like this. Could the localities deviate from these standards if they were more concerned about pedestrians?
Well, they're pretty reluctant to deviate from these standards because they're always concerned about the issue of liability. And apparently the liability works in this situation really for insured interests, that is to say the motorists. So it's very difficult to get a jurisdiction to deviate from these standards, which are, you could say that they're high standards if you're talking about it from the perspective of the motorist, but there are really no standards at all when you talk about it from the perspective of the pedestrian, because as you can see, the pedestrian is basically invited to risk his or her life in a situation like this, while the motorist rolls comfortably past in a warm, music-filled environment.
Now, most states have laws that require cars to stop for pedestrians in a crosswalk. What's the problem with those?
Well, those laws are not followed. It used to be that a pedestrian coming anywhere near a crosswalk in California could stop all traffic on a road such as this, but that's really not the way we're doing it in 1997 in the United States, at least on the East Coast. That's another way to handle this, to create safety for the pedestrian, would be for traffic simply to stop. But that would require a completely different mindset from what we have now, particularly in this area. And I might mention that a recent Federal Highway Administration report indicates that in large metropolitan areas, 40 to 50% of the traffic fatalities consist of pedestrians. And the greater the number of lanes and the greater the speed, the worse the situation is for pedestrians, which is no surprise.
And over time, our roads are getting more lanes and are getting faster, so is this becoming more of a problem then?
I would say that walkability is something that's really been lost, and it will really take changing the whole mindset about surface transportation. There were some changes made in the legislation about 6 years ago that favored some facilities for pedestrians, but they really are all little add-on features or features in the planning. It really does nothing to alter the basic notion that roads are for motorists and that pedestrians just don't count. As a matter of fact, if you look at statistics, say for Montgomery County, Fairfax County, any county, when the Washington Post publishes traffic statistics, you'll often find the number of fatalities or a comparison from one year to another year, but you rarely see the number of pedestrians involved in these fatalities. It's a terrible thing because we're really hiding some very important aspects of traffic.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.